Welcome to another episode of Crunch Time with Katelin. In this episode, I will be talking about the Browns quarterback situation. Now, last week, the Browns signed RG3 to a 2-year deal worth about $15-16 million, which I am all for, to be honest. He could play the next 2 years, hopefully, and you have your bridge quarterback. If he plays super well, you found your quarterback for the next 5 to 7 years. He's still only 25, 26 years old. And I think it's the best idea for the Browns not to go after a quarterback at number 2. Now, I know I said this in my draft video, but I've been honestly thinking the Browns may be better off trading down. And maybe trading down to 8 with Philadelphia, because there's been rumors they like Carson Wentz. And maybe at 8 you take Ezekiel Elliott, you take the tackle out of Notre Dame, or the Rams at 15, they could be a possible suitor. Now, I don't know how the Browns would think about trading 2 to 15, but going from 2 to 15, now if we rewind from the I think it was 2012 draft, the Redskins, they traded 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks, I believe, just to jump from 12 to 2 to get their franchise quarterback, which was RG3. But if you're jumping from 2 to 15, going from 15 to 2, I'm gonna say that's at least 2 to 3 first-round picks. That's at least going to be 3 second-round picks, and probably a third or a fourth, a couple, 3 or third or fourth round picks in there also. And because this Browns team has so many holes, that might be the best idea for the Browns. Now, we all know as Browns fans that they're not going to miraculously get into the playoffs this year. But I think if you're the Browns and you're trying to develop for the future, why not trade the number 2 overall pick and get a whole bunch of draft picks, and then you build your team around those core draft picks? Now, if they stay at 2 and they take Jalen Ramsey or Miles Jack or Tunsil or whoever like that, as long as it's not a quarterback, I'd be all for it. But going from 2 to 15 and maybe getting Paxton Lynch at 15, I would be okay with that. Because you get Paxton Lynch, who can develop and be your third string quarterback next year. And there would be no pressure on him to play at all right away. But also, it would be Paxton Lynch and all those other picks you would get for the number 2 overall pick. And I think that's how the Browns should draft. And I think that's what they're thinking. Because why would you pay Mitchell Schwartz, $6-7 million a year, when you could take a right tackle who can probably do just as good of a job as he did the past few years in the second or third round, and only pay him, $1 or $2 million a year? It just makes sense for the Browns to trade back, get a whole bunch of assets, and build their team around that way. And if you're Hugh Jackson, I know Hugh Jackson, I think he would be just just give me the players and I'm just gonna coach them up. I mean, nobody thought the 2011 Raiders were going to go 8-8, but he coached them up. And that's what I'm honestly thinking about the Browns. Yeah, we're gonna say they're gonna win 2 to 3 games, but I could see them winning 5 or 6 games just because of Hugh Jackson. And And then you would get, with and even if you lose two, or you only win two or three games, you're still in the driver's seat and get the best player available in next year's draft. Because we all know that this isn't going to be a 1-year rebuilding type thing. This is going to be 2-3 years. And if the Browns are smart, they would just trade down, get a whole bunch of picks, and then just build their team around that way. Yeah, it might take longer. Yeah, there'll be a lot of rookie mistakes, but then you also develop those guys into your system. And then in 2 or 3 years, when you're ready to start winning, then when they become free agents, you're gonna re-sign your own guys. That's why I think the Browns didn't even want to re-sign, Travis Benjamin. They didn't seem like they wanted to re-sign Craig Robertson because they weren't their guys. And by the time the Browns were going to be good, they were going to be out of their prime and not helping the team. And that'll do it on this episode of Crunch Time with Katelin. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Leave some comments down below. Also, at the end of this week, I'm going to have a WrestleMania preview with a special guest, and I will have my MLB predictions.